Most creators have a ceiling, an invisible limit, no matter how many views they rack up or how viral they go. Millions of followers, sold-out shows, trending moments, but all within a certain box, a realm of possibility. But then there's speed. This isn't influencer fame, it's something else entirely. Think Michael Jackson in the 80s, the Beatles in the 60s, the kind of chaos that doesn't just dominate online, it shuts down cities. A YouTuber with 33 million followers causing street closures, police lockdowns, and full-blown hysteria. Kids skipping school just to catch a glimpse of him. And what if I told you all of this, every single part of it, started with a $1.79 donation from a random kid named Bradley? Sounds impossible, right? Let's rewind. The clip that changed everything. It was March 26, 2022. Just another day on stream for Darren Watkins, better known online as SUII. At just 17 years old, he'd already built a loyal following with 6 million subscribers, known for his wild energy, unpredictable behavior, and the kind of unfiltered chaos that made every stream feel like anything could happen. But in the next few seconds, everything, and I mean everything, was about to change, even though he didn't know it yet. A user named Bradley donated £1.79 through Super Chat, dropping a simple question. What soccer team do you support? And Speed, in classic Speed fashion, didn't hesitate. He looked into the camera, stood up, and shouted 3 words that would unknowingly change the entire trajectory of his life. Cristiano Ronaldo. SUII. It was meant to be a throwaway moment, the kind of clip that blends into a sea of viral chaos. Just another reaction, another loud scream, another random stream highlight. But what no one realized at the time, not Speed, not Bradley, not even the chat, was that this wasn't just a funny moment. It was a spark, a portal, a gateway into a world that was far, far bigger than anyone watching could have imagined. Because that clip, that single moment, wasn't just about a football player. It was about to introduce Speed to an entire global culture he hadn't even tapped into yet. One that would embrace him, amplify him, and eventually carry him to heights no streamer had ever reached before. The football explosion. See, most Americans live in a bubble, and in that bubble, the word football means quarterbacks, tailgates, and Super Bowl commercials. It's Tom Brady, halftime shows, and fantasy leagues. But outside of the United States, football isn't just a game. It's not even just a sport. It's something far deeper. It's identity. It's history. It's religion. It's the sound of kids playing barefoot on the cracked pavement in the favelas of Brazil, hoping to be the next Neymar. It's late-night matches in the alleyways of Paris, homemade goals on the beaches of Thailand, and stadiums that shake with emotion in cities like Lagos, Istanbul, and Buenos Aires. Football is the pride of a city, the pulse of an entire country. And when Speed's clip leaked out of the American algorithm and landed in that world, it didn't just go viral. It exploded. Millions of reposts, retweets, memes, and reaction videos started flooding in. Not just from fans, but from football fans, the most passionate and intense audience on the internet. Suddenly, Speed wasn't just a loud streamer from Ohio anymore. He was the guy who screamed Ronaldo's name like his life depended on it. And the football world couldn't get enough of it. That one moment, born out of pure randomness, unlocked something massive. Without planning it, without even understanding it, Speed had just stumbled into the biggest cultural force on the planet. And the timing couldn't have been more perfect. From fan to fanatic, the Ronaldo obsession. What started as a funny clip quickly turned into something much bigger and much deeper. Speed didn't just lean into the attention from football fans, he dove headfirst into it. He started playing FIFA, reacting to matches, mispronouncing players' names in the most hilarious ways, and treating every virtual goal like he'd just won the Champions League himself. But through it all, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't just about football in general. This was about one man, Cristiano Ronaldo. To Speed, Ronaldo wasn't just a player. He was the player, the symbol of greatness, the ultimate competitor, the definition of obsession. And before long, that obsession took over everything. His streams, his music, his content, it all started orbiting around CR7. He dropped songs dedicated to him, got a tattoo of his name, mimicked his signature celebration in nearly every video, and even started referring to himself as Ronaldo's biggest fan. But for Speed, being a fan wasn't enough. Watching Ronaldo highlights and screaming SUII into a camera wasn't enough. He needed more. He needed proof, not just for the internet, but for himself. That's when the obsession evolved into something else entirely, a mission. He had to meet Ronaldo. It didn't matter how long it took or how far he had to go. The goal was set, and in Speed's mind, it was only a matter of time. The chase across continents. Most streamers stay behind a screen, locked in a room, gaming, reacting, entertaining their audience from a safe, familiar place. But Speed wasn't like most streamers. Once the Ronaldo obsession fully took hold, he stepped out of the digital world and into the real one. And with that, the chase began. What started as online admiration quickly turned into a full-blown international pursuit. Speed began flying across countries, tracking Ronaldo's every move like a superfan on a mission. From England to Qatar, from club matches to international games, he showed up at stadiums, screamed from the stands, chased team buses, and did anything he could just to get noticed. And while most people would have gotten tired, embarrassed, or discouraged, Speed only doubled down every time it didn't work. Each failed attempt became fuel. Every time Ronaldo didn't show up, or didn't wave, or didn't acknowledge him, it was like tossing gasoline on a fire that was already raging. And that fire, that relentless drive, didn't just draw attention. It pulled in millions of fans from around the world who weren't just watching anymore, they were invested. They didn't just want to see Speed meet Ronaldo, they needed it to happen. It became a story bigger than the streams themselves. A real-life saga that felt more like a movie than a YouTube channel. And as the hype built, even players close to Ronaldo started acknowledging Speed, teasing him, encouraging him, hinting that the moment might actually come. The chase had officially gone global, and whether or not Ronaldo was watching, the rest of the world definitely was. Speed's IRL format unlocked something new. What no one expected, not even Speed himself, was that this wild chase would accidentally unlock an entirely new version of his content. And with it, a new level of success that most streamers never even dream of. Because while he was out there, hopping between countries, filming chaotic moments outside stadiums, and interacting with fans in real life, something shifted. People weren't just tuning in for the games anymore. They were showing up for him, for the spectacle, for the unpredictability. His streams felt electric, like anything could happen at any moment. One day he was screaming at a security guard in London. The next he was trying to kick a ball into a stranger's shopping cart in Paris. It was live content in its rawest form. Messy, loud, unscripted, and completely addictive. And the numbers didn't lie. As Speed travelled, his audience followed. Not just online, but physically. Crowds started showing up wherever he went, chanting his name, swarming him on the streets, chasing him down alleyways just for a chance to be part of the madness. His subscriber count skyrocketed. 17 million, then 20, then 25. Numbers that take most creators a decade to hit. Speed was flying past them in months. But it wasn't just about the growth. It was about what this format unlocked. The IRL content didn't dilute his energy, it amplified it. His personality wasn't made for a quiet room and a ring light. It was made for the world. Loud streets, crowded cities, live reactions, real chaos. And now, with the whole planet watching, it felt like there was no limit to how big this thing could get. You can't handle him. As Speed's tour across Europe picked up steam, the crowds kept getting bigger and louder with every new city. What started as a few dozen fans waiting outside his hotel quickly escalated into thousands swarming his every move. Airports turned into mob scenes. Side streets became impromptu parades. Everywhere he went, it was like dropping a lit match into dry grass. The energy caught fire instantly, and there was no putting it out. But what nobody realized at first, not even Speed, was just how dangerous this fame had become. In Norway, it all came to a head. What was supposed to be a simple day of filming turned into full-on chaos in a matter of minutes. Fans spotted him near a souvenir shop, and within 9 minutes, the street was packed shoulder to shoulder. People were pushing, screaming, climbing over cars. His team tried to move, couldn't. Security wasn't enough. The shop doors were locked. They were trapped. And Speed, for the first time, looked genuinely shaken. This wasn't hype anymore. It wasn't just fun and fans and fame. It was too much. When you're stuck in a small store, surrounded on all sides by a crowd that's growing by the second, no exits, no plan, it hits different. You realize this thing you built might have gotten bigger than even you can handle. And the scariest part? Norway wasn't an isolated incident. It was just the most intense version of something that had been happening everywhere. In city after city, fans weren't just excited to see him, they were desperate. People lunged for his clothes, tried to rip off his hat, pull at his arms, grab whatever piece of him they could get. It wasn't just love, it was frenzy. Speed had officially crossed a line, the kind where fame stops being a tool and starts becoming a threat. And from that point on, he knew things had to change. If he was going to keep doing this, it couldn't just be about hype anymore. It needed planning. The Southeast Asia masterstroke. After the near disaster in Norway, Speed and his team knew they had to move smarter. But instead of slowing down, they did the opposite. They went global, and not in the way most influencers do. While typical American creators stick to the safe international circuit, London, Tokyo, Paris, Speed aimed for a place most of them never even think about, Southeast Asia. And that move changed everything. In cities like Manila, Jakarta, Bangkok, and Ho Chi Minh, Speed wasn't just a celebrity, he was a once-in-a-lifetime event. These weren't fans casually stopping him for a selfie on the street. These were full-blown mobs, sprinting through traffic, climbing over fences, screaming his name at full volume, like he was a pop star returning home after years away. In places where Western stars rarely, if ever, show up, Speed's arrival felt like the universe flipping upside down. He got scammed in Vietnam, crashed a tuk-tuk in Thailand, ate street food that nearly took him out on stream. He met Manny Pacquiao in the Philippines, sparked impromptu fights with local boxers, and screamed SUII so loud in Cambodia that the traffic stopped just to stare. But through the chaos, one moment stood out above the rest. The night he went live from Jakarta. During that stream, Speed did what no English-speaking streamer had ever done before. He broke 1 million concurrent viewers. 1 million people all watching live in real time, hanging on to his every word, scream and stumble. It wasn't just a personal record, it was a global statement. Speed wasn't just the loudest streamer online anymore, he was the most watched live streamer on the planet. And it all happened in a place most influencers never even look on the map. Amidst the chaos, the screaming fans, the record-breaking streams, and the endless flights across continents, it's easy to forget how all of this started with one kid, one donation, and one question. But Speed didn't forget. And eventually, that moment came full circle. Somewhere along his journey, after hitting 30 million subscribers, after turning into a global icon, Speed finally met Bradley, the random viewer from the UK, who had sent £1.79 and casually asked about his favourite football team. No way Bradley could have known what he was starting. No way he could have predicted that his message would launch a phenomenon. But there they were, face to face. And when they met, Speed looked at him and said, "You're the reason I'm sitting in this chair right now." It wasn't just a wholesome moment for the stream. It was a reminder that sometimes the biggest stories don't start with giant plans or viral strategies. They start with something small, something unexpected, a spark, a sentence, a random donation during a late night stream. That full circle moment hit different because it stripped away the chaos for just a second. Behind the noise, behind the fame, behind the millions of followers and screaming fans was still just a kid who got really, really lucky, and who took that luck and turned it into something no one had ever seen before. It's easy to see the energy, the numbers, the headlines, to watch the clips of Speed sprinting through foreign cities or screaming at the top of his lungs, and forget that behind it all is just a kid, barely out of high school, trying to figure life out in real time. But the truth is, while Speed was building a global empire, he was also doing something just as intense. Growing up and doing it in front of millions. He's talked about it openly. How his mum kicked him out at 14. How he moved in with his dad in Michigan and started chasing something, anything, that made him feel seen. At first, his mum didn't get it. The streaming, the yelling, the obsession with Ronaldo, it all felt like noise. But over time, she came around. And his dad, he always got it. Do what makes you happy, he told him. And Speed did. But that growth wasn't always smooth. When your every mistake is live, when your worst moments are clipped and shared by strangers online, there's no hiding. Every meltdown, every argument, every flaw, it's all out there, permanent. Most people get to stumble in private. Speed had to figure it all out with the whole world watching. And yet, through it all, he never stopped. He kept showing up, kept evolving. You can hear it in his interviews now. The way he talks about staying grounded, staying locked in, as he puts it. He knows the fame can get to your head. He's seen what happens when creators lose themselves. But he's determined not to be one of them. "I'm growing," he says, "but I still want to be me." That balance between maturity and madness, between chaos and control, is what makes Speed different. He's not trying to become someone else. He's just trying to be a better version of who he already is. So what happens now? With over 30 million subscribers, world records under his belt, and a passport filled with stamps from nearly every corner of the globe, you might think Speed has already hit his peak. But if you ask him, he'll tell you, he's just getting started. As 2025 begins, Speed's focus has shifted. It's not just about chasing hype anymore. It's about building something sustainable, intentional, and bigger. He's thinking about production, strategy, structure, the stuff most streamers only worry about once the spotlight starts to fade. Except for Speed. The spotlight isn't fading, it's growing stronger. And now he wants to evolve with it. That means better content, bigger ideas, more global reach, but also more control. Because after the chaos of Europe and Southeast Asia, after being mobbed, swarmed, and nearly crushed by crowds, he's learned a hard lesson. You can't just show up anymore. You have to prepare. You need security teams, decoy vehicles, secret exits, escape plans. Not because he's trying to act like a celebrity, but because the world is treating him like one. And he's finally starting to understand the weight of that. But even with all the planning and pressure, Speed hasn't lost sight of what matters. He still shows up to streams with that same raw energy, still screams into the mic, still lives for those wild, unfiltered moments that made him famous in the first place. Because at the end of the day, behind all the numbers, headlines, and awards, he's still that kid from Ohio, who just wanted to make people laugh. He says he wants to be remembered as the greatest streamer of all time. Not the richest, not the most polished, the greatest. The one who gave everything, who broke the mold, who proved that you don't need a blueprint if you've got passion, work ethic, and the nerve to scream SUII at the top of your lungs in the middle of a foreign street. And maybe that's exactly why he'll be remembered. Because the internet didn't create speed, it just gave him a stage. If you thought this was wild, just subscribe, because next videos might surprise you.